Hello everyone, I'm Mary Jo Hughes. You are joining us at the 2012 State of the City Address in Watervliet. The City of Watervliet had a productive year in 2011. The Mayor and Council have greatly strengthened the city's financial position and have implemented a host of creative solutions to generate new revenues while better serving the people of Watervliet. The efforts to successfully compete for and attract grants has been one of the big successes, bringing new jobs to the city. The successful creation of an ambulance run by the fire department and the continued growth of the city's municipal recycling program are among the key highlights. And now, the State of the City Address.
Thank you for attending this morning. I'm here to give the State of the City. I'd like to start by recognizing we have a few honored guests here. Dan McCoy, our new county executive, came to join us. Thanks, Dan. Dan's just been elected last fall, and we've already hit the ground running. Great relationship working with here at the city and hopefully the school too. We also have Nick Foglia, one of our council persons. And Ellen Fogarty, our other council person, is here with us today. So thank you for coming. We'll get going here, get you guys back to class. I'd like to welcome everyone here today and start by thanking Dr. Kaplan for letting us do this, all the staff, and you, the students who are residents, citizens in training, and of course, future taxpayers. We moved the venue to here this year, and it's fitting as we talk about the state of the city and moving forward that we're doing it in one of the recent major accomplishments of the school district and the community, this new facility. If you don't know, the State of the City Address is a chance to review the activities of the city government over the past year and talk through what we hope for the year to come. As mayor, this is an important activity for me and an important report to the community. As you may know, the role of mayor is a part-time job, and during my day job at GE, my days and weeks and quarters and years are filled with performance reports, reviews, and planning. It's a proven system for businesses to measure successes against goals. I think the system I've brought to the city government has had the same type of positive results. While it sometimes seems like a long time ago that I was a student here, one of the things I do remember is how much pride I've always had in the school and the city. In my professional career, as an engineer, I've had a chance to travel around the world many times, and it's always great to come back home. We have a great community with residents who care a great deal about keeping our community strong. One day, one of you will be standing here leading our city, so I'd like to ask you to start thinking about the future of our community and start sketching out what your role might be in the future. Also, I need to thank the city team, without whom the results that I'm about to review would not be possible. While too numerous to mention all of them by name, I would like to thank all the city officials, staff, the many department heads and their staffs for all the hard work and dedication over the last 4 years since I've been involved. In particular, I'd like to thank council members Ellen Fogarty and Nick Foglia, mentioned are here today, for all they do. Ellen and Nick are deeply care about our city, and they're great partners to have in leading the government. Considering that we are basically a large customer service organization and that there's about 1 employee for every 100 citizens, we've accomplished a lot and we have a lot to be proud of, and I'm going to go over some of those things in a few minutes. So let's get right into this and talk about the finances. It's a tradition to start this presentation with a recap of the city finances. If you follow the news, there's a repetitive budgeting process that occurs at the federal, state, city levels of government, as well as here in your school. The finances are the lifeblood of these organizations and control the number of staff that can be carried and what services can be provided. The most widely followed impact of this process is resultant property taxes. As we close out 2011, we in the city again came in on budget with no change in our fund balance despite appropriating a large portion of that to keep the taxes down. In layman's terms, it means we emptied our checking account, as we do every year, but didn't have to dip into our savings. The projected balances in our three major funds are the general fund, $1.1 million, which I said is flat. The water fund is $450,000, up over $100,000, and the sewer fund is $180,000, again, essentially flat. This is a major accomplishment, and it's accomplished by conservative estimation of expenses and revenues and continuous monitoring of the funds in and out through the year. And more importantly, it's not possible without the entire organization becoming more efficient and cost conscious. The bottom line, in face of double-digit increases in our major expenses like retirement and health insurance, we continue to deliver the same quantity and quality of services with low single-digit increases in our net costs, resulting in the same increase in property taxes. Public safety, we spend about over half our money on that, and we think it's money well spent. The police department, led by Chief Ron Boisford, might be one of the hardest groups to report on in the traditional what have they done format like this. And they might be one of the easiest to take for granted. When you call them, they're there. You might not know it, but when you don't call them, they're there. Here in the school, the Student Resource Officer Program has made a positive impact here at the high school and the community for a number of years since its inception. And this year, we're starting to focus and increase involvement at the elementary school. We're planning on the same impact in the community. The WPD is a well-respected part of an interagency group, including DEA, New York State Police, Albany County Sheriff, all working together to combat and deter illicit drug activity in and around our community. These partnerships have allowed us to continuously update and enhance our resources and have direct benefits on all city departments and the citizens. The Watervliet Fire Department, led by Chief Scott Skinner, responded to over 1,700 calls in 2011. Quick math lesson, that's about 5 calls per day. 2/3 of those calls are EMS, not fires. There were 910 total transports by the Fire Department ambulance, compared to 789 transports in 2010. This 2011 figure also includes transports from our recently expanded service into Green Island. Public safety is a 24/7 operation that requires coordination and management of over 50 personnel. As in any organization, there are changes due to health, training needs, career paths of the group. The fire department in particular had a flurry of such activity in 2011. We said farewell to Chief Klickner, who got me started in my administration, got the ambulance started, and we hired a new firefighter immediately to replace that manpower. Captain Scott Skinner is promoted to chief and continues the tradition of excellence leading that department. In the fall, we welcomed back safe and sound firefighter paramedic David Stutz from a 1-year tour of duty in Iraq. 2 firefighters started paramedic school, again a focus on our public safety commitment. Our longtime friend and EMS medical director Dr. Daly was replaced by Dr. Wendy DiMartino, who herself has some roots and connections to Watervliet. The city received a major grant from the federal government. With this, the city outfitted all 229 of our fire hydrants in the city with new connections that will allow for quicker connections to water supply for fire apparatus. It's a universal connection that allows for all of our mutual aid partners, when they call and respond and help us, to hook up seamlessly at fires. The grant also provided us with 2 LifePak 15s. These are outfitted with technology to detect carbon monoxide in our patients. The city completes its investigation of the consolidation of fire departments with the city of Cohoes this year. Although going through the process was educational, it was found that there was no significant cost savings in the near or mid-range time frame. This study was funded by New York State. For 2012, both the police and fire departments have tested and worked with the Albany County Sheriff's Department on transferring dispatch duties to the 911 center in Voorheesville. A trial has been running on the 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift since October. This trial has allowed us to evaluate technical and procedural evaluation prior to committing to a larger full-scale implementation, which we just approved last night at a council meeting. This program, under leadership of Chief Boisford, will be a highlight of 2012, hopefully as a successful consolidation of services and a cost reduction for the city. It should be noted that projects like this, starting our ambulance, even the school resource officer program, are not even possible to consider, let alone successfully pull off, without the leadership we have in our police and fire departments. Shifting to public works. Aside from the day-to-day duties and routine maintenance, our DPW has taken on more and more large projects. And we are trying to do these projects with our own equipment and manpower rather than having to pay outside contractors. The times when we did go outside, we covered these costs with grants and other outside funding. Many of the services and projects completed this year are visible as well as behind the scenes. Some visible examples are right outside here, across the parking lot, the reconstruction of a stormwater system that controls the flooding on Hillside and Wiswall Avenue. Again, right outside, we joined with the school to resurface Hillside Drive after the construction here. We also resurfaced a couple block stretch between Broadway and 2nd Ave on 23rd. Some of the not so visible projects is behind Fenimore Trace and Highland Club. There's a stormwater system. We put $300,000 into that. We made improvements to our service reservoir, which is up behind the Provincial House in Latham. Looking into 2012, we hope and pray for this weather and no more snow, which allows us to work on things other than salting and plowing and saves us tens of thousands of dollars. Of course, our prayers are conflicting with yours here because that means fewer snow days up here. Joke. Refuse, recycling, and environment. In this section, I'm lumping together our energy and environment activities with our refuse and recycling, although the whole organization shares this task and we have many accomplishments across it. In 2011, we compiled and formally adopted our Climate Action Plan. This set in place a plan for us to achieve 10% reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions from a baseline of when I took over in 2008. We added an additional challenge or stretch goal to get to 20%, and we're well on our way there. Reducing emissions is not just an environmental concern, it's a pressing business imperative for Watervliet. Our carbon footprint is directly attributed to the fuels we burn in our vehicles, the electricity we use in our homes, businesses, schools, and the waste we send to our landfills. For our efforts, we've been granted Green Power Partner status by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. For 2011 accomplishments, we installed 2 large solar electric projects on the rooftops of the library, senior center, and the firehouse. These were funded almost entirely by the Recovery Act, also known as the stimulus funds. And after starting them this summer, it's covering about 60% of the electrical needs for both of those buildings. Using a grant obtained in 2011, 4 weeks ago we launched our Watervliet Organic Waste, or WOW program. This includes a 50-household trial evaluating the feasibility of residents to separate organic waste from our garbage, as well as the city's processes of collecting that and disposing of that. From what we can tell, we are the first municipality in New York to even try this. The goal is to take the organic waste from the stream that we send to the landfill and decrease our impact on filling the landfill and also lower our costs. We pay about $50 a ton to bring waste to the landfill. As the year goes on, we plan to increase the participation of the WOW program and install our own system for processing of the waste into usable byproducts like natural gas and compost. Similar to the WOW program, within the next couple months we plan to launch a program encouraging the businesses and households in the community to become climate smart as well and address energy efficiency and renewable energy usage. We will also continue down the path for licensing through the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, to design and build a 5-megawatt hydroelectric plant at Lake Delta in Rome, New York. We already operate a hydroelectric plant at our reservoir in Guilderland, so that'll be a nice complement. In the Parks and Rec area, aside from all the programs we run throughout the year, in 2011 we welcomed the RPI crew team to be the first tenants to occupy our solar boathouse at Hudson Shores Park. Also, an unwelcome visitor in the form of Hurricane Irene flooded the park, covering it with mud and silt, forcing us to close the park early last year. We will now use assistance from FEMA to clean up and get the park ready for this season. We co-sponsored kayak training for the David Fisher Upper Hudson Heroes. This is a program offering wounded and disabled veterans instruction in kayaking and water safety. We started it in our pool and moved them down to the river. Funded by a New York State grant, the 7th Street Park, which excavated portions of the original Erie Canal, was completed. The park was dedicated to Mayor Hugh Donnelly and reopened to the public. Planning and Community Revitalization Department. We added this department, led by Rosemary Nichols, to fill a recognized need when I started as mayor, and it has exceeded all expectations and is continuing to drive our success in Watervliet. In 2011, we continued to support efforts of the Watervliet Arsenal and the Arsenal Business and Technology Partnership. The partnership welcomed 2 new tenants inside the Arsenal, Cleveland Polymer Technology and Otto Malera, an Italian gun maker. Inside our own little fortress down on 15th, we completed the first ever comprehensive plan, and we're currently working via consultant-led committee to turn that plan into our new zoning code. This will be implemented by local laws over the course of the summer. The most visible impact of this department has been its ability to apply for and obtain grants. Here's a few of the highlights. Housing Rehabilitation Grant, $290,000 to assist low-income seniors who own single-family homes. A Public Facilities Grant to complete the work on the Dry River system I talked about behind Fenimore Trace, $310,000. A planning grant for $24,000 that's contributing to our program to complete the comprehensive plan and roll that out into our zoning code. That's looking very specifically at the business districts along 19th Street and Route 32, 3rd Avenue in Port Schuyler. We got a New York Main Street grant, $260,000, and that's matched by private investment, be taking place in 3 buildings down in Port Schuyler. Most recently, we got a micro enterprise grant for $200,000. Will give us the ability to give this out in $5,000 to $30,000 increments. Our economic development applications have also been successful. All these emphasize job creation in the city. The highlight of that is Wicked Smart, formerly located in Menands, is moving into the St. Bridget's Church and Old School. That's a $105,000 grant. We're matching that with our local development corp for another $76,000. That's a great use of an abandoned building, and we're filling it with a business, tax-paying role, and hopefully creating jobs. National Grid also threw in $25,000 for energy efficiency improvements, and McIntyre's was also redone with this economic development. You're also starting to see successes from previous grants down in Port Schuyler: Wood Burning Warehouse, Gil Hooley's, Cummings Funeral Home, Schuyler Bakery, Max Drive-In, Giuseppe's Pizza, Sean's Beverage, their new liquor store attachment, and Tygon Academy are all alumni of our economic development program. Another output of this department from another grant for $66,000, we started our Geo Explorer, which is a GIS system, Geographic Information System, that we developed for in-house use, but during the process we tried to turn that around so everyone can use it, and now provides a 24/7 access to property information, assessment information, building and codes data, zoning, election maps, garbage pickups. Anything we can lay on a map is in there. This new system will dovetail into what we're doing with the comprehensive plan. These grants have resulted in many tangible improvements. However, it's not well known that most of these grants also contribute to the city coffers. They provide funds for the administrative services of delivering these grants. These revenues can be as high as $100,000 per year, and this allows us to maintain staff in that department and make the department somewhat self-sufficient. To wind this down, I've just described what most would consider a very successful year for the city. However, I would be remiss if I didn't issue a caution and note that this is only a snapshot in time. Due to the flow-down nature of many of our revenues, the mandatory nature of our expenses, and the impact of the general economy, this positive position can turn negative in relatively short periods of time. However, we remind ourselves of this constantly so we don't get complacent, and we do try to stay one step ahead. The presentation today is an example of how we continuously work on sharing information. So I'm going to take advantage of this time and make you all aware of a new notification system that we've just implemented. It allows residents to provide all forms of communication modes they use: email, text, cell phone, landline. We input that into the system so we can notify in case of emergencies, service interruptions like water main breaks, and any activities that will affect traffic flow, like the parade, Arsenal City Run, etc. I encourage all of our residents to go to the website and sign up for this powerful tool. If you have difficulty getting internet access, you can always call my office and we can assist you. If you live in the Housing Authority, they can also provide internet access to get you hooked up there as well. With that, I'd like to close today. Thank you all for your attention, and I will be around if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'm sure you all want to get right on back to class. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay then, thank you.
14th Mayor of the City of Watervliet, your 5th State of the City address, Watervliet's rating A1 in the Moody's report, unprecedented financial momentum for the city. Thank you for joining us today, Mayor Manning.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for coming.
This year you changed the venue of your State of the City address. Can you tell us why?
Well, we thought that the message of the State of the City was going to be about looking forward and being successful, and what better place to do it than in one of the latest accomplishments of the school district and the whole community, this great facility here. So that was the thought behind it, and we could make the kids come and have a captive audience.
Absolutely, and they certainly enjoyed it also. As we close out 2011, the city again came in on a budget with no change to the fund balance, all the while continuing to deliver the same quantity and quality of services. How did you accomplish this, and what are your thoughts looking ahead to 2012?
Well, we accomplished it by starting with a conservative budget. We don't put a lot of risk into the budget. If expenses we think are going to be high, we put them in high, and if revenues are going to be low, we put them in low. We did say in the talk that we came in flat, but really we were ahead because in last year's budget we appropriated $250,000 or something like that to help keep the tax rate down, and not only did we didn't appropriate that, so to keep our fund balance flat, we actually came in $250,000 ahead. And that is done by the budget, setting the goals, and then checking all through the year that we're not going over that. So it's really just common sense and having everybody pay attention to that. Sometimes you can get where you get a budget going and then you don't check it again until October, and all of a sudden you're in crisis mode. We try to check it all through the year and stay on top of it.
The Student Resource Officer Program is an example of the city working collaboratively with the school district. How important is this program to the students and the community as a whole?
I'm glad you mentioned. It's very important to the students and the administration here. Administration, of course, uses it as a tool for control and help with discipline and a deterrent, to some of the major things that could happen when you have a group this large together. It's it's relatively new. It's probably as old as I've been in office, and it's gotten better each year as the Student Resource Officer, Sergeant Spain, has felt his way through and created programs that he saw that fit in up here. I know Dr. Padalino was a big fan of it. Dr. Kaplan might be even a bigger fan. And that said, with what we've accomplished at the high school, we're going to start turning our focus towards the elementary school, which we haven't been doing so much over the last couple years. And that's setting the tone. So as these folks come up from elementary school to high school, you don't have to initiate them. They've already had a taste of what's coming in elementary school, and the transition is a lot smoother and keeps the chaos down.
Would you tell us about the new notification program?
We've purchased some software that we can, with it's self-serve. The residents go and put in as much or as little information as they want, but it can send out notifications by email, text, voice over cell phone, or voice over a landline. And if you put all those in, if we have a emergency or an issue like a water main break or something in the city, or we're going to be running the parade by your house, or garbage pickup, anything that can notify, we can send a message out, and we can send it to everybody. Or it has a mapping feature where if I just want to do, for instance, the people surrounding a water main break, you literally draw a picture on the map, and it pulls all those phone numbers and everything into a distribution list, and you can say, okay, there's a water main break, your water will be off and send that out. It's only as useful as the people put in. If you don't put your info in, and it's an expansion of what we were doing with what you refer to as robocalls. We had a list of phone numbers that we had accumulated for snow emergencies, and all we could do with that was have a recording. Hey, there's a snow emergency on February 17th. Blah 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 blah. With that, we could only do it by voice. And if you didn't get it or you were busy, it wasn't as effective. With this, if you give us 3 modes, email, text, voice, you're going to get one of them. And you'll be better informed, and we should have fewer complaints during snow emergencies and things like that, oh, I didn't know. So, but again, we're trying as much as we can to get word out. There's a lot of information that happens in the running of a city. Some of it affects day-to-day, some of it doesn't, but as much as we can get out. We already have a website. We already have WVLT. We've got our robocalls. So this is just an expansion of our commitment to get word out. And then once you have the word, do with it what you will.
Mayor, for those people that do not know, what is Watervliet's website?
Oh, it's www.watervliet.com.
Couldn't be easier.
Take that for granted, I guess.
One of the many reasons for the city's success is the focus in on a variety of different areas: going green, increasing recycling, the city's ambulance, bringing in new money through grants. I understand your family is participating in the Watervliet Organic Waste Program. How has this program affected your household garbage?
Personally, it's taking some getting used to. You're kind of on autopilot of just taking things and either put it in the garbage or the recycling bin. In our house, they're right next to each other. But I find, once you get used to it, everyone's starting to buy into it. We're finding at our house and others in the study that people are reporting having zero garbage now because something's either recyclable or it's food waste. Plate scrapings, chicken bones, banana peels, all the stuff that you used to throw in the garbage is now, since it's organic, which means anything that was alive at one point, is going into this little recyclable bucket. And we made it as easy as you fill a bag-lined bucket, and when it's filled, you tie the bag up, and we take it to an outside container we provided that has a clasp on it so it can't get knocked over or animals in it or something like that. And we're picking that up only once every other week during the study. So the residents are learning how to do it. We're able to fine-tune that part when we roll it out. And the Chris Dawes and the refuse guys are learning how to pick it up, how to store it intermediately, and then we're working ourselves. We want to do something, next with it, and we're looking at doing something like a digestion or composting that will do even more with it. So it's not piling up somewhere.
It's no secret that one of your goals is to find uses for abandoned buildings in Watervliet. It is my understanding the former School 1 in Port Schuyler is currently being renovated. What can you tell us about that project?
That project is underway because of one of the grants we got, one of the many grants we've received, part of the Main Street grant down there in Port Schuyler, although it's not on the Main Street, it's in a Main Street district. And there's a developer who is going to be putting in, high-end apartments, good square footage and demanding a decent rent. He's working on one side of the building, finishing that, filling it, and then he'll work on the other side. But the plans look great. The funding's there, which is, you can't do anything in this economy without funding. And it's a building that's, basically sat dormant since we merged the elementary schools into one. So I mean, it's checking all the boxes of what these type of programs are supposed to do, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful with the state. The good news is we're getting these grants. The bad news is, or the reason we're getting them is because we have some of these old abandoned buildings. So systematically we're going to try to click them off. I also talked about no sooner did we close St. Bridget's and the old school, but we've got someone moving in there again with a grant to bring a business in there. So we're taking, in that case, a building that was a nonprofit and tax-free, and now we're going to have a taxable entity in there. And their plan includes limited work to the facade. So I mean, you'll still be able to see, the St. Bridget's. So the building will still be there. We didn't knock it down, which is another, issue we have here in the city. You've got these old buildings. They've got a lot of character if they're restored. And do you knock them down and build a glass building, or do you try to use them as is? So that's a balance we have to look at when we get proposals in, whether it's knocked down or reuse.
Well, the big talk this winter, Mayor, is the lack of snow in the forecast. How does this benefit the city?
Well, directly we budget money for salt, which is very expensive, you'd be surprised, and overtime basically for plowing. And so far, knock on wood, we're not doing that. So that's something that if we buy salt and we don't use it, of course it's non-perishable, so it'll stay through till next year and we won't have to buy it next year. And the overtime, you could say you save it and don't spend it, but what it does allow us to do is, as I mentioned, we can do projects, and if you need to stay overtime to wrap up a project, and now we have some flexibility to do that. Emergencies too. We have as we speak, there's a major water project going on 16th between 2nd and 3rd that, instead of shutting it down for the night, if we need to stay a couple hours and finish something, we have that now, flexibility in the budget. So it's a good position to be in. It's good to have snow and make it look like a northeast winter, but when you have to plow it, it's nice not to have.
What is the key to success for the city?
I think our key is to continue, with the processes and systems we put in place to maintain the financial stability. Without that, you can't do anything. And the stories that you read in the paper about school districts and municipalities with huge deficits and not being able to close it is because they've driven themselves to that point. We're committed not to get driven to that, at least by things that are in our power, and not a lot of it is. So we're being extra vigilant to watch those things and stay on top of them as they come. Legislation that goes through, whether it's federal, state, we're always assessing how that may or may not impact us, so that it's not a shock when you get a bill or get a notice that your aid's being cut. So it's really just working the budget 365 days a year is the key.
Well, Mayor, thank you so much for taking the time with us, and best of luck in all of your endeavors.
Thank you. Thanks for covering this. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us at the 2012 State of the City Address in Watervliet. And thank you for watching your award-winning WVLT Channel 17. I'm Mary Jo Hughes.